What if I tell you this might be the end of YieldMax Universe Fund of Option Income ETFs, YMAX? And the reason being is that there's a brand new ETF that came out today. This ETF is very competitor to this ETF, and I can see a lot of investors moving their money from this ETF to the other ETF. So I'm going to show you what the other ETF all has to offer, and you're going to make your decision whether you're going to stay with the YieldMax if you're an investor of YMAX, or you're going to switch to another ETF. So first thing, as you can see here, YMAX hasn't been doing great. A 52-week range is between 1121 to 1882. I bought, I think, some shares around 16, then I averaged down when it was at 13. Now I'm questioning whether I should keep holding this or should just sell and maybe move to this new fund. And I might make it a little bit dramatic here to say maybe this is the end of it. Now going to be the brand new ETF I'm talking about today is this one here, Roundhill Weekly Pay or WePay. This is a fund of funds that invests in a bunch of weekly paying ETFs, and I'm going to show you all those ETFs that Roundhill has, and it starts around $50. Most of these Roundhill ETFs usually come at a higher price. The lowest I think was 45 when QDTE, XDTE came out, but most of their ETFs start around $50. So $50 can be a turnoff for certain people who don't want to see higher prices, and an ETF like YMAX can be very compelling to some people because of that $12 price tag. But what I can tell you, do not just go with the price. It's all about performance. So now we want to know what this ETF has to offer, because in order for you to switch from either YMAX or buying any new ETF, you have to understand what this ETF has to offer. And so I have a lot of good important news to share about this brand new ETF, WePay. So the first good news I want to share with you is that WePay management fee waived to 0.00 until at least September 30th, 2026. So you have 1 year to invest in this ETF. There is no management fee, but this can be very deceiving. Remember, this is a fund of fund, meaning they invest under other funds. So the other ETF that this ETF is investing under, those ones, they still have the management fee, but this ETF itself on aggregate, it does not have. So you kind of paying, but it's not direct payment, right? So these zeros here can be very deceiving, but even though you're paying indirectly, it's still good news, because for example, fund like YMAX, even though it's a fund of fund, you still pay. As you can see here, you see management of YMAX is 1.28, so it's a little bit higher than this ETF. So the fact that you're not going to pay a fee for 1 year, that's very interesting. Now we want to go deeper and see what this ETF has to offer. The Roundhill Weekly Pay Universe ETF seeks to track the performance of the selective Roundhill Weekly Pay Universe Index. WePay is designed to invest in eligible universe of single stock weekly pay ETFs. Remember, Roundhill has a bunch of other ETFs. For example, they have weekly paying ETFs. So don't get confused here. There's a weekly pay ETF and there's weekly payer ETF. We have XDTE, QDTE, XDTE. Those are the ETF that pay weekly as well, but these ones are weekly pay ETF. I'm going to show you the ETFs I'm talking about. I mean, most of you might know them. So why would you even consider investing in this ETF? They have three main compelling reasons here. The first one is weekly distribution. WePay pays distribution every week, offering a recurring income stream for shareholders. Reason number two, diversification. WePay offers diversified exposure to the entire suite of Roundhill weekly pay ETFs. So this is very important, because instead of you going to pick one by one ETF, you can just buy this one ETF and call it a day. Seamless. WePay is rebalanced monthly to equal weight, ensuring consistent exposure to all single stock weekly pay ETF in a single ticker. Very important. And here are more details for this ETF. Symbol is WPAY. Primary exchange symbol. The gross expense ratio is 1.28. Remember, it still has expense ratio, but the expense ratio has been waived to 0% for about a year. Very important. Asset management, 2.5 million right now. And I'm assuming as performance of this ETF becomes understood, most people will jump and buy this ETF because it's simplified, right? Launch was launched today, September 4th, 2025. Can you do option with this ETF? No, you cannot. Share outstanding 50,000. Management style is passive. And I'm going to read the strategy that Roundhill investment managers use to generate income for this ETF. Holdings, they have a bunch of holdings. They have Google, Apple, Netflix, Avgo, Berkshire Hathaway, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Palantir, Tesla, and you can see here they're pretty much equal weight, but they're going to go out of weight based on the performance of these underlying stock. If we click here, we can see more. So they have NVDA, AMD, Coinbase, Huawei, which is Robinhood, and the last one here is MicroStrategy. So for people who are big fan of MicroStrategy ETF, if you have this ETF, you also have exposure to MicroStrategy. Now, how often this ETF is going to pay? It's going to pay weekly. First time they're going to pay is September 17th. The announcement will come on September 15th, 25. Ex-date and record date, September 16th. As usual. And if you look at your calendar, September 17th is going to be Wednesday. That means this ETF is going to pay every Wednesday, which is pretty good. So if you own a bunch of ETFs, you'll be able to receive distributions every week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It just depends which ETF you own and from where. You can mix from different ETF providers and you can be receiving distribution every week. And I believe Roundhill has a bunch of ETFs that you can invest and have your distribution spread out throughout the week. So when the Roundhill Weekly Pay Universe ETF was launched today, September 4th. What are the fee for the Roundhill Weekly Pay Universe ETF? The fund gross expense ratio is 1.28 per year. The fund net expense ratio is 0.99 per year. Can I trade option? No. Is Roundhill Weekly Pay Universe ETF actively managed? No. WePay is passively managed and designed to track the selective Roundhill Weekly Pay Universe Index. For more information on the selective Roundhill Weekly Pay Universe Index, please visit the index website. So this is very important information to know. This ETF is not actively managed, it's passively managed. How often does WePay pay distribution? WePay pays distribution to shareholder on a weekly basis. What weekly pay ETF are eligible for inclusion within WePay? All weekly pay ETF, their underlying asset based on a single stock will be eligible. Weekly pay ETFs with exposure to indices, fixed income, commodity, or ETF thereof will not be eligible. So this is only going to have just single stock ETFs. So if there's any weekly paying fund, that's not going to be included in WePay. What is rebalance frequency for Roundhill Weekly Pay Universe ETF? WePay is rebalanced to equal weight on a monthly basis. We've seen that. Pretty good information. Distribution rate, we don't have this information right now because this ETF, as you know, it just started trading. So they have to make money and they'll determine how much they're going to pay. So guys, when they announce distributions and when they announce the dividend first time, I'm going to keep you updated. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification button. So whenever they release new information, I will be able to deliver that news to you. And also, if you like this type of content, as always, smash the like button. And don't forget to share with someone you think this video might help. All right, let's go to more information. So there's one very important information about this ETF I want you to know, and I'm going to read from here. Swap agreement risk. Each weekly pay fund will utilize swap agreements to deliver its exposure to its applicable security. Swap agreement may involve greater risks than direct investment in securities, as they might be leveraged and are subject to credit risk, counterpart risk, and valuation risk. So this is very important to know what risk these type of ETFs are involved in, because this is passively managed. It's going to use something called swap agreement. They're going to have a counterpart. I'm not 100% sure who is the counterpart who has agreement with Roundhill Investment. Flex option risk. Certain weekly pay fund will utilize flex options. Flex options involve risks different from or possibly greater than the risk associated with investing directly in a security. Weekly pay fund may experience losses from flex options positions. Certain flex option positions may expire worthless. The flex options are listed on the exchange. However, no one can guarantee that a liquid secondary trading market will exist for the flex options. So if you're interested to invest in this ETF and you want to know more about this and the risk involved in this ETF or any other ETF, you can go to the prospectus and read all this information. And now here we have a visual of all the ETF that they invest in. Palantir, Amazon, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Apple, AMD, Avgo, Tesla, Metwi, which is a Meta, MicroStrategy, Google, Berkshire Hathaway, Netflix, Huawei, Koi. So this is a pretty cool because they're investing in all the biggest stocks, and the performance of WePay will greatly depend upon the performance of these underlying ETFs. And these underlying ETFs performance will also depend on underlying stocks that these ETFs have exposure to. So it's really complex here, guys. But I'm really glad that they have this one ETF, because this will replace a bunch of these ETFs. That way you're going to have a very clean portfolio. So remember when I started my video, I said this could be the end of YMAX. I kind of exaggerated a little bit. It doesn't mean that it's the end of end, but what I'm trying to say here is that we might see, depends on the performance of WePay, we might see a lot of people who are invested in YMAX selling their shares and buy WePay. As you can see here, for example, this is MSTY. Net asset was over 5.6.8 billion. Within just a few weeks, when the performance of this ETF coming down, we've seen a lot of investors selling MSTY and migrated to Ulti, and this is just a normal course. So a lot of people do that all the time. So I won't be surprised to see investors who want to exposure to fund of fund investing in WePay rather than investing in YMAX. YMAX asset is 1.09 billion. But end of the day, there's another way you can do. Maybe you can do YMAX and WePay combined together. I think that would be a really good combination, right? What do you think about that? Let me know in the comment below if you're going to sell YMAX by WePay or you're going to combine them together. If you're interested to see me making a video on YMAX combined with WePay, let me know in the comment below. And again, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button. You can always receive new update whenever I make that video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.